my channel. I hope you're all doing well. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jess and I run a crochet small business called Hook a Duck. So first things first, Happy New Year. Welcome to 2025. I can't believe it's already 2025. That's crazy. But I feel like this is going to be a good year. This week, I thought we would start off the new year with going right back to the beginning of my crochet journey. And I thought I would do a little sort of top tips on how to start a crochet business. So let's jump straight in. So first things first, before starting a crochet business, you need to make sure that you love crochet. With me, I'd seen it on TikTok and I thought this is something I want to do, but I didn't actually know how to crochet. So I would recommend going on YouTube. There are so many great tutorials on YouTube. If you just type in beginner crochet, single crochet, it will show you how to break down a single crochet stitch. And my top tip for this is to decide, first of all, what you want your products to be. So if you want them to be more sort of plushies and cuddly toys, like what I do, then you want to go on YouTube for tutorials of like crochet beginner plushie, type in that sort of thing, and it will come up with your amigurumi, cuddly toy type things. Because if you're wanting to do like clothes or scarves or squares or anything, then the way that you sort of start off is a bit different. So for plushies, you start off with something called a magic ring, which is kind of the first thing you need to do in order to get you then going round and round in your single crochets. Because most cuddlies, they go in sort of a circle shape and you create like a ball. If you're doing more clothes and stuff, it tends to be that you chain like a line and then you crochet along the line. Whereas with plushies and cuddlies, it tends to be more a circle and you then go in a circle. With me, I remember I started and some of the things that came up was like how to do a simple granny square and stuff, and I was doing that and then I was like, but how does this turn into a cuddly? And then I was like, I'm just going to do a tutorial for an actual cuddly toy, which the first one I did was the duck, because it's just a very simple round shape. And then it started off in like the magic ring and I was like, oh, this is a totally different way of starting. So just decide basically plushies or clothes. Decide what you're doing and then type that into YouTube. Just watch the video, break it down. It took me a long time. I remember there were times thinking I cannot do this, like it's just not clicking. I would say just do little and often, just keep at it each day, watch the video again. Like you have to watch the video so many times to see where they're putting it, where their hands are moving to. And eventually it will start to click. Sometimes when you see that people are running like a crochet class or something, and I've been asked before, like, do you want to do like a crochet class? But I just think it would be so difficult to have a room full of people, because it's not something that you can really be like, oh, this is how you do it, now you do it. Unless, you know, I mean, obviously some people probably can if they're quite crafty and maybe if they're experienced in knitting and stuff. But for me, definitely it took me a lot of times and a lot of repetition of seeing it and seeing it close hand, like right in front of me. Like I feel like in a class setting, I would literally have to be being one-on-one with every single person, like moving their hands to the right place. For beginners, it definitely is. I had to keep pausing the video, seeing exactly what they're doing, and then I'd have done it and then I'd be like, I have no idea what I did. Like it takes a long time to get into your muscle memory. So just keep at it, little and often, and you will get it. For the plushies, start off with just like a basic ball shape, because then you'll have learned how to start it with the magic ring, how to do single crochets, which is the main stitch, and you'll have learned how to increase and how to decrease. And once you know those, you can basically crochet anything, any plushie really. There's a few like variations on stitches, but they're all a similar type of stitch. And then see if you enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy it, then try another craft. Because the thing with a crochet business, it depends. You might be lucky and it might be something that makes you loads of money straight away, but generally, and what I've learned is, it's not something that makes you money very quickly. You've got to do it because you absolutely love it. Like people have said to me at markets, a lot of these small business crafty things, it is hard to sort of make a profit from, because the amount of time and effort and resources that you have to get to make these things is a lot. You have to do it because you love it, and then it might be the case that it makes you money, which is amazing, but don't do it just because you want to make money. But this is something where if you're passionate about it and you love it, it could end up making you money. Also, so when I first started out, obviously when you're doing your first crocheting, you've got to get resources to crochet with. When I was first starting out, I used this blanket yarn. I just got it from Amazon, just type in blanket crochet yarn, and it's like this, and it's quite thick, and it's nice and sturdy, like it doesn't sort of shed or anything. So it's quite easy to work with when you're first trying to work out how to crochet. Obviously, if you're doing clothes and stuff, you might start with a thinner one, but I do find the thinner it is, the more fiddly and difficult it is. Get some nice thick yarn and then get a nice thick needle, because when I first started, I literally ordered a 2mm, and look at the size of that. It's literally like a needle. Like, trying to crochet with that and that is not really working. I then ended up from Amazon just ordering a kit like this, where it's got all the different sizes in, and I think this was only like a £5 or something, so it is worth getting all the different sizes, because especially if you love crochet and you're going to keep doing it, like different projects and things will need different size needles, so it is quite worth getting a full kit of needles. Or if not, I would recommend getting a 6mm hook. That's this sort of size. That's what I tend to use for like the blanket yarn and the chenille yarns. Either sort of a 5 or 6mm hook and some blanket yarn, and that's all you need to get started on crocheting, to be able to do the stitch and see if you like it. So then once you know you like it and you want to go ahead with your business, there's a few things you need to do. You need to think of your business name, and you need to think about what your first sort of products are going to be. So when it comes to your business name, so my name of Hooker Duck came from, it was inspired by the products I was doing. So the first products I was doing were ducks, and then it's kind of a pun on Hooker Duck, which is like a fun fairground game, and my plushies are all like fun and cute and happy. And then obviously the hook is like a crochet hook. So your name kind of wants to tell people what you're selling, give an idea about just sort of the vibe and what it's about. So yeah, it can be a pun, or it can be, you know, a lot of people are just like, Jess's Crochet, and that's fine as well. Like, as long as it's clear, you want it to be clear what it is. Like with my Hooker Duck, I definitely need to put Hooker Duck Crochet, because sometimes people can get confused if it is literally a Hooker Duck. And then when it comes to obviously your logo and things, that can help to explain it even further. So with mine, I've got the ducks and then I've got the ball of wool. So it's like, it's cute, like it appeals to kids because it's really cute and fun. And then it's got the ball of wool, which is just like, yeah, it's crochet, you know. There's things like Canva, where you can get a lot of free images and things for your logo. So definitely check out Canva. And then, you know, you obviously want to think about the font, like the font, is it sophisticated? Is it fun and bubbly? Like, think about the font, think about the pictures, think about the colours. It's definitely good to think about who your target audience is. So, you know, if it's primarily younger people, older people, you want to think about your target audience and let that influence your logo. You want to also check on the like domain name. Obviously check that there's no one else that's called that business and is doing the same thing, and then you can also buy the domain name if you want to. When it comes to your first product, so probably your first product might end up being the thing that you sort of learned how to crochet on. That was what happened with me, it was the ducks. Get making a load of them, you know, see if you can do colour variations or whatever. So yeah, decide on what your first product is. Oh, and then you want to finalise the materials that you're going to use. So with me, started with this blanket yarn and it was great, but then in the end, when you're thinking of a business perspective and you want to start thinking about how much these resources cost, it turned out that I could get double the length of the Jelly Baby for the same price. So I ended up switching to Jelly Baby. And basically you want to, as I say, when I first ordered, I just ordered it from Amazon for like my tester wool. But when it comes to you sort of continually ordering your wool for your stock and everything, you want to do it from an actual like wool shop website, because Amazon, they tend to up price. So on Amazon, it's all like £5 something for a ball of wool, whereas I normally get my wools for like £3.89 or something. So there's the little wool shop. I know there's like the wool factory. So if you just in Google, just type in chenille yarn or, you know, crochet yarn, loads of shops will come up and they're all, you know, cheaper than Amazon. So, and you're also supporting small businesses as well. So get it from actual wool shops. and a lot of them have sort of, if you buy however many bundles, you get free delivery or something like that. So yeah, I'd recommend getting it from there. And then you also want to do like testers of, you know, the materials that you're using. So I did make up ones with this wool. When I was thinking about changing, I made up ones with this wool, and then I also got this wool, made up ones with this wool, and then I've made my final decision. So, and you might want to sort of order a range of different wools, because they all have different sizes and they all have, you know, different qualities, like obviously the thickness of it, the length of it, how it feels. So this is more blankety, whereas this is more sort of silky and soft. So it's just up to you on the finish that you want your plushies to have. You can get some very fluffy yarn. Obviously, the further people get into crocheting, you use a bunch of different yarns. So you might do a plushie with blanket yarn, and then a plushie with chenille yarn, and then you might use some real fluffy yarn. So there's nothing wrong with using a load of different yarns as well. But just like, especially when it comes to your first product, decide on the yarn you want to use, and then you want to just make up, you know, some, I call them my models, which are the ones that remain here, the ones that I don't like sell, but they're the ones that I use for my Etsy shop and my photos and everything. So you want to create your models in all the different colour variations you're doing or whatever, and yeah, and then you're ready to start listing. So once you've created your models, you then also, you need to do what's called UKCA testing. If you're wanting to sell anything, you need to UKCA test them. So if you just search for UKCA testing online, there's lots of videos on YouTube that explain it to you as well. I will probably do a separate video on it as well. But yeah, you need to UKCA test. So if you Google it, it comes up, and you can just buy this booklet. It was about £50, I think. You buy this booklet, and then you can like print all the pages off, or you can just do it online, it's up to you. But I prefer to just print it off, and then it explains to you everything you need to do. And basically you just have to test one of your plushies of that like type, like the animal. So you have to do like a fire test, you have to do like a drop test, you have to like drop things on it, just to check, like a tension test. Like you just have to check that it's not going to fall apart, basically. It's just checking that it's like safe for people to use and it won't fall apart and cause any harm or anything. So it's very important to do. So yeah, UKCA testing, get the booklet, it's all in there. There's lots of things on YouTube to help you as well with that. So you need to do that before you start selling. And then also any sort of business insurance that you're wanting to get. I just got mine through Compare the Market. It's not expensive at all. I think it was like £50 for the whole year or something. So just get yourself some business insurance just for peace of mind. Like if anyone does buy anything and then something happens, like you've got that insurance, you know, so I would recommend that. And yeah, then you're ready to start selling. So then you want to decide on the platform that you want to sell on. So I primarily sell on Etsy. I just think it's such a good place for handcrafters. I think it's where a lot of people go to first when they think like, oh, I want a handmade gift, you know. So I would highly recommend Etsy. Have a look at their fees. They have like a fees page where they break it all down, but like it's really not much. They just take like a tiny percentage when you sell an order. And then when each time you do like a listing, you have to pay, I think it's like 20p for each listing. And then I think you have to relist every like 6 months, but you can get it to automatically do that. So it automatically just relists for you. And yeah, it's just 20p per listing. So it's really not bad. So yeah, I'd highly recommend Etsy. There's also lots of different things like Patreon, Ribbler, which people use to sell their patterns. Obviously it depends on whereabouts you are in the world, you know, there's different sites for different places. So yeah, think about where you want to sell. I definitely recommend Etsy, and create yourself an account, and then often, you know, your profile picture, put that as your logo, and then you can do like a banner of maybe of some of your products. And then also with socials, you might want to set up a Facebook page and an Instagram page, and then you can use your personal one to sort of push it out to your friends and family and things to start getting a bit of a following there. While you're doing this as well, you want to take your photos of your models. So you want to pick somewhere that's a nice backdrop. So it's up to you. Either you can do like a plain backdrop, or, you know, sort of professional style photo booth, like just white or a colour. or like clouds or whatever, or you can pick a nice backdrop. Like I tend to do mine outside. I think a lot of people do. They, you know, just hold your plushie and have like a night, like the grass or a hedge or some flowers or something behind you. That always makes for nice photos. And I tend to usually hold them in my hand because it's good. It's nice to see how big the plushie is in comparison to your hand. I think it helps people to know the sort of size to expect. So it's up to you. You can do it on like a table or something, but I do think the hand helps for people to know what sort of size to expect when they order the plushie. So yeah, get some nice photos, get some good lighting, and outside it's good with the lighting as well. You don't have to worry too much about, you know, setting up lights and things, because the natural light is what is a lot better than inside normally. Get photos of each item like individually and then all together as well. That's what I tend to do, because often you might have the front listing photo will probably be the photo of them all together, and then you can scroll through them individually, because then it comes to doing your listing. So for your listing you need your photos. Etsy also recommends you have like a little few second video. Apparently that helps to push it out further. So just pick like one of your plushies and just do a little video. I just do all my photos and stuff on my phone. So, you know, you can do them on an actual camera if you want, but your phone is absolutely fine. Photos and videos. And then you just have to name it. So obviously it'll be like Crochet Duck or whatever. And then do a little description. So in the description you just want to say like it's handmade, it's crochet, super cute, you know, say if it's any occasion or, you know, got any special features about it. And then you want to say its size dimensions, so sort of how tall it is, how wide it is. They do also usually ask you for the size as well. But yeah, it's very important to include, just because you don't want people getting something and then complaining, being like, this is smaller than I thought, or this is bigger than I thought, because you can say, well, the size was there, so, you know. And it's also useful to say what it's made out of, so like the type of yarn, you know, blanket yarn, velvet yarn, so they know what the sort of texture is going to be. And then you can do your tag, so you want to tag like crochet, you know, cuddly toys, cute, that sort of thing, so that when people are searching it will come up, like Christmas if it's an occasion thing. Do your listing and then you can just post it, and it also lets you say how many you've got in stock. So something that I've found, which I've just quite recently come to the realisation of actually, is that last year I was sort of, every time I did a new plushie, I was listing it straight away, and then people would be ordering and I wouldn't have it made up, so then I would have to make it up and send it out. Now my delivery was like 5 to 7 days, so that is quite a nice long time for me to get it made up. Obviously you can choose on what you want your delivery options to be. Obviously the shorter they are, probably the better. But I would always just be like, I really want to send it out the next day, because that's just kind of who I am as a person. I'm just like, I want to get it done and sent off. So I was finding that was putting a fair bit of pressure on myself, especially as it was getting to sort of like, I was prepping for markets, or I was doing someone's birthday present, or Christmas was coming up. Like I was like, I've got this crochet schedule of all this stuff I'm doing. And then when someone would come in and be like, I want a graduation whale or something, like that's just added stuff that I haven't factored in and got time for. So I was finding that was getting a bit stressful. So I ended up deactivating quite a lot of my listings, which is useful that you can do on Etsy. You can deactivate them and then reactivate them at any time. And I think now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to list things that I've actually got the stock for. So say from my last Christmas market, I've got stock left over. So I'll be like, okay, I've got 5 whales left from that. So I will reactivate my whale listing and put stock that I've got 5, you know. So then if someone orders it, it's fine, because I've got it there and I can just send it off, and I don't have the stress of having to crochet it, you know, in amongst everything else I'm doing. So I would recommend that. Obviously while you're starting out, it's kind of fine to make it to order, because you might not have other things that you're sort of doing. But as you start to get busier, you might find that that's the way that you want to go, is to, yeah, just list things that you've actually got made up. And I know a lot of my favourite crocheters, that's how they do it as well. They, you know, list things that they've actually physically got made. So that's a top tip as well. Once you're then set up on Etsy, you also want to make sure you know about delivery. So scout out your nearest, you know, post office. You want to find out how much it costs to deliver first and second class. So I usually send mine second class, because on your Etsy listing, you then have to add your delivery fee. So find out how much it costs to send it and then do that as your delivery fee. And then you need to get yourself mailing bags, this was another thing. You need to think about how you're going to send it. So luckily with mine at the moment, they're quite small. So I just send mine in, this is a very small one, but I've got different sizes of these just drawstring bags because they were quite cheap. And then I just send it in a mailing bag because boxes were quite expensive. But obviously as the plushies get bigger, you probably need to start sending them in boxes. So yeah, it depends how big your plushies are. Find out what resources you can get in bulk in order to send them. I sent a bunny, one of my bunnies, and I did it in like tissue paper and then in the mailing bag. So that wasn't as expensive as like getting a box. But obviously if you're doing bigger plushies though, you're selling them for more. So, you know, that factors into buying the boxes and stuff. So yeah, get your resources for mailing, get yourself some Sharpies to just write on the front of the mailing bags. Throughout all of it as well, you want to make sure you're keeping a list of your expenses. So everything you buy, right from the very first bit of wool that you buy, keep a list of, you know, when you bought it and how much it was, just because when it comes to, you know, doing tax returns and things, you need to know all of this. And then obviously when you sell anything, keep a list of that as well. So just keep them in the same place so that when it comes to having to do a tax return, you're all ready and it's not stressful. And then you want to just keep on promoting really. I'd recommend following, you know, crocheters and things on TikTok so you can see the sort of things that they're doing. And then, you know, create your own content. So whether that's uploading your nice photos that you've done to Instagram, and then, you know, do TikToks and you put them on Instagram and Facebook. And then I think just keep on going with, you know, trying out new patterns. Use YouTube, it's your best friend, to create new patterns. Always share what you're doing, and don't think about the money side of it too much because it can be very slow, you know, to start with especially. And, you know, don't worry if you are not getting any sales. Like, just keep doing it because you love it. Do different animals, take photos of the different animals, put them up, and just share your journey, and then you will start to gather interest and people will start to follow you and you'll start to get some sales. It comes back to, once again, you've got to do it because you love it, because it does take time to build it up, to build up customers. And then you can also think about if you want to do things like markets. So it's a case of, with markets, I found, just go into your local like community groups, and a lot of the time they post, like, especially coming up to Christmas, like, oh, are there any stall holders that, you know, want to do this market or whatever. But also if you search like crochet, search sort of like small markets, and then in the area that you live, it will probably come up on Facebook with any posts like that. Or reach out to anyone, you know, anyone that works within the local community, any counsellors or anything that you know, like, just reach out to people and ask if they know of any markets. Anyone, you know, that has kids at schools or works at schools, they'll have school fairs and things. So just start to reach out to people and you will be able to get yourself in on some markets, and watch some people's, you know, market vlogs. I've got a market vlog that you can watch just to know the sorts of things you want to start to take to the markets. So I always recommend like the smaller, easier things, and you just want to start to build up a stock of that, and that obviously gives you things to keep crocheting. Your crocheting will improve, and then you'll go to the market and you're networking, you're meeting new people, you're getting your product out there, and yeah, it's just a really good thing to do. So think about markets, and if that's something you want to do, there's many YouTube videos out there and things to give you, you know, sort of an idea of what a market is like. Also, just go to some markets and have a look at people behind the stalls and think, is that something I want to do? You don't have to commit until you've fully like been to a market and seen it. So have a think about that, because that's something that obviously as a crocheter you get to do and is really fun. And then also you'll see that as you start to do it, things just tend to start happening and start ramping up. Like, people will start asking you for things, you know, they'll be like, oh, can you crochet this? And it will give you an idea to do that. And, you know, people's birthdays and things, you'll start wanting to do things for that. And then obviously all the different times of the year, there's all different types of crochet things that are popular. So you will find things that you're doing, even if they're not necessarily like things for your Etsy. And then it will all just start to build. And also be comfortable with it changing. You know, sometimes with things that you thought were going to be the main idea will then change. Like with me, a lot of it has changed and developed and is still developing. Like when I first started, I was like, my main thing is obviously my Etsy shop and selling physical plushies, but as I say now, recently I've deactivated a lot of them because it was getting too much, because I changed my focus, well, because I started doing markets and that sort of took over for a little bit, and then it gets to, you know, you're doing people's birthday presents and Christmas presents and that takes over for a bit, and then there are points where you think, oh, I could do patterns and sell patterns, and that's all good as well, because that's another way that you can make money and you're being creative. When you find yourself starting to understand crochet so much that you can go more freestyle and do your own thing, doing patterns is absolutely great. And then it's like recently, obviously I'm loving my YouTube, so it's like I want to do things that also benefit my YouTube. So yeah, it's just a case of allowing it to go wherever it wants to go, because in all of these different avenues you're still crocheting, and that's the main thing, and you're doing it because you love it. So yeah, I'm very excited for 2025. I'm sure lots will continue to grow and develop. My main thing at the moment is that I just want to keep crocheting different things, because that's another thing I found. When you're crocheting like your stock for your Etsy and things, you end up doing a lot of the same thing. And I was like, I've done tons of ducks, tons of whales, but I haven't really learned anything recently or like grown and enhanced my skills. And then when I did, you know, like the elephant for my brother's birthday, I was like, yeah, that's like a whole nother level, you know. So it's good to keep trying these new things and just do the things that you want to do, because it's your hobby. They're kind of my top tips on my crochet journey so far. Obviously I'm less than a year into it, so I'm not an expert, and things will continue to change, and you know, I'm sure I'll do another one of these next year and there'll be many more developments. I've absolutely loved the journey so far, and I'm very excited for the journey to come. Good luck if you are starting out a crochet journey or any sort of craft. It's all sort of, you know, very similar vibes. Obviously with this you just have to know how to crochet, but with any craft, all of the above literally stands. Like my partner's just got into like felting, which is really cool, and it's like, oh yeah, we could go to a market and have like half felt, half crochet stall, you know. So it literally applies to any craft, any small business, hobby idea that you're doing. And yeah, it's just about putting your name out there, not being scared. It's like when I first did the market, it was quite scary, but I was like, this is going to be so good for me to get experience and to get crocheting more. And once you've done the first one, it's then fine, because you've done it and you know what you're doing. So push yourself, get your work out there, and just do the things you love. Anything that you see that really excites you, give that a go, you know, try that pattern. I think it's very exciting. 2025 is going to be a great year. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Happy New Year. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.